Hi, everyone, and very welcome to yet another episode of Captain Speaking together with me, Petter Hornfelt, and
Hi, everybody. My name is Ben Watts, and this week we've got some controversial topics. We're going to be talking about if you're not lying, you're not flying. We're talking about some mental health. We're talking about Christmas rosters and some answering your questions as well.
yeah. And as always, if you're watching this on YouTube, that's awesome. But you can also find this podcast everywhere where you find your favorite podcasts, audio podcasts, which is how I listen to a lot of podcasts. Do you, Ben?
Yeah, I try to. Time is short for me, but I do. I often tend to watch them actually, not so much listen to them.
Yeah.
For a few I watch on YouTube. I like the Diary of a CEO. They have some great topics.
Yeah, and I listen to a lot of them. I listen to a lot of NPR podcasts from the
Mm,
US. I listen to Pivot, which is
yeah.
my probably my favorite podcast. But there's loads of them, and I my kids hate it, but I listen to it in the car. So
Mm,
when I'm driving between Andorra, where I live, down to Spain, that's a 3 hour drive.
mm.
I can listen to a bunch of them, and I never get tired. My wife gets crazy with me when I do it.
Yeah. But yeah, they're great. They're good. So yeah, come and listen to us there. But have you been traveling this week, or are you? How's your week been?
No, so this week I am still in the deep dark November and December hustle when it comes to producing. So I've been working producing Mentor Now. I mean, together with you, you did a fantastic episode last week, which has been greatly received. So I'm super happy to see that the Mentor Now audience are really taking you to heart. It's great
Yeah,
to
it's good
see.
to be back. It was good to be back.
Yeah, I know they're going to see much more of you going forward. So I'm happy with that. Otherwise, no, baking, starting to look at the Christmas plans. You know how you always feel that Christmas is so far away that you don't need to worry about it.
Yep.
It's not so much like that anymore. I don't know about you. How are your Christmas planning going?
You very lax, to be honest. I'm a typical kind of guy. It's like Christmas Eve. Oh crap! I've not got presents yet. That kind of sums me up. My wife has actually been on to me a little bit. She's actually got a few things she's got her eye on. So she's given me a few hints. So I kind of need to get my finger out there and start looking. Missed the Black Friday deal, which was not smart, but say la vie.
Yeah, no, I get that feeling as well. My wife is, I think, as in most households, the one that is kind of dealing with getting all of the
Yeah,
Christmas gifts.
yeah,
Which she's doing a fantastic job, by the way.
yeah,
I wish she knew how much I appreciate what she does, but
yeah,
but I'm the same. I kind of know what I'm going to give my wife, which is the most
mm,
important bit.
mm.
Now I just have to kind of get the logistics right in order to actually go and buy it because it's not available where I live. But it's I don't know. I mean, do you stay at home for Christmas or do you travel somewhere?
Yeah. It varies. This year we're staying at home, and my family are coming. My parents are coming to us, so we're actually at home this year. It's nice. The kids kind of wanted to be at home. Yeah, the idea of traveling for them this year, they just wanted to be at home and take it easy. So that kind of works. But buying for teenagers now is, as they're getting older, is getting a it gets more expensive, and b it gets a little bit harder.
Yeah, and it's not as fun anymore. I mean,
No.
I don't know about you, but I remember that Christmas and you're having your birthday at Christmas. That
Mm,
was literally the
mm,
highlights of the
mm,
year. That's when you got stuff. Like
mm,
I didn't get stuff. I didn't get toys or electronics or anything like that on any other time of the year. That was when you would get something.
mm.
But nowadays, I don't know. It feels like it's changed, and I am so against buying just for the sake of
Oh,
buying.
yeah.
There's few things that irritates me so much as in like going and spending money on stuff and then seeing that the person didn't really want that, so it just sits on a shelf and gathers dust. It annoys me with to no end.
And I think once the kids get older and that magic of Christmas starts to go with, Santa Claus, Father Christmas, that kind of starts to disappear, and you do kind of feel that change of vibe in on Christmas. But it's just a transition into adulthood, and they know we're not, as we said before, we're not spending a fortune on just building up a pile of presents for them. There's a few things that they want, and yeah, we're getting that. But that's about it. We're not going crazy with them because it kind of defeats the whole object of Christmas. That you kind of lose the whole perspective of the point of being together and sharing that together. And take the materialistic side of it away.
Yeah, and I would love to get back to that because the fact is that what you said that for me, Christmas is still magical for me.
Mm,
Like we always celebrate it in the same way. We go up north to
yeah.
Sweden to my parents' house. They have a lovely big house up there, and we gather all of the family. We were like 20, 25 people sometimes, and everyone gets together, and we have this, like, we have Christmas dinner. We celebrated on the 24th, by the way, in Sweden, not the 25th. So we get together. We have this Christmas dinner. We have the big tree. We have the gift. The kids are running around being wild, and it's all about eating and drinking and listening to Christmas songs and playing games. And I mean, I love that,
Mm,
every single part of it. It's always snowy up there. It looks like a postcard,
mm,
and so for that part of me, that's what I'm looking forward to. And the Christmas giving presents has almost started to become a little bit of detrimental
yeah.
to it.
Mm,
It's too much of it.
mm,
The kids don't really appreciate it anymore. And it's not. So I'm desperately trying to find a way around it. Like, what we've started doing as adults is that we buy a gift to one each, right? So we set up on the year before, we've set up a chain, the who gives to whom. So
oh, nice.
it's not like Secret Santa. It's actually one person
Mm,
gives to another, and then you can focus on buying to that person and
mm,
really think about what will this person appreciate. And it's one gift,
mm,
which means that I also get one gift,
mm,
which is perfectly
mm,
fine, you know. But we haven't really solved the issue with the kids, and on top of that, just to make it more interesting, in my case, obviously we have both the Spanish and the Swedish traditions. So in Sweden, you get your presents on Christmas Eve, the 24th. In Spain, you get some presents around Christmas Eve as well, but most of it on the 6th of January, which is Reyes, like the three
yeah.
wise men,
Yeah.
which makes sense because they came with gifts.
Yeah.
So that tradition makes perfect
Mm,
sense. But that also means that we can't really give our kids presents on both of them.
mm,
We have to choose one. So that means that my kids always get less presents on Christmas Eve than
right.
the cousins do.
Yeah.
And it's always been a little bit like, it becomes a little bit weird, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
And
it's it, it's a hard thing to get your head around, and I'm just looking forward to the day when they are also adults, when we
mm,
can do, they can be included in this Christmas
mm,
chain, and they can get one Christmas gift, and they can just enjoy being there and
yeah.
eating and drinking and singing and having fun, you know?
'Cause it's been so commercialized, isn't it now? One thing that, I mean, it grinds on me a little bit is, and I don't know if this is the same throughout Europe, it'd be interesting to hear, but we would just finished Halloween here in the UK, and the day after, houses were getting decorated with Christmas. And I'm like, "My, guys, we're not even in December, we're just in November, just." And it so by the time you get to Christmas, people are almost fed up with it. It's just like,
I
really?
refuse. I refuse to put not a single glittering thing up before the 1st of December.
Yeah,
Like,
same here.
that is my limit. The shops can do whatever they want. I
Mm,
actually like it when they start to putting up the Christmas lights and stuff in town, because it's so dark in November that
mm,
I kind of like it, right?
yeah,
But myself, I don't do anything before the 1st of December. And in Sweden, we have what's called Advent.
yeah.
It's a Protestant thing, I think. Like,
The same here. Yeah, same in the UK.
oh, the
Yeah,
same in the UK.
yeah.
So that's kind of the first, second, third, and fourth Sunday before Christmas.
Yes,
First of Advent, second of Advent, third of Advent, and you put a little candle on, and it's one,
that's
two,
it.
three, four candles, right?
Yeah.
So before the first of Advent, nothing. After that, full on. Give me everything. Give me Christmas cookies. Give me everything else. But before that, no. For the same reason, I don't want it to be. I don't want to be any inflation in Christmas feeling, basically.
No, I would completely agree. Feel free to disagree with us in the comments. Love to see that.
Yeah, and I would also love to hear what other people out there are doing when it comes to the Christmas present conundrum, because I am fairly sure that we are not alone with these kind of things, and feeling that kind of nagging feeling that it's kind of it's has stopped really fulfilling its point, the Christmas gifts.
Yeah, yeah. It's too much focus on the gift, not about everything else. I was speaking to my mum who's coming to visit us. She said, "Oh, what am I going to get you?" I said, "Look, just bring yourself. If
Yeah,
you really want to bring something, bring a Christmas cake because she bakes and she makes amazing cakes." I said,
exactly.
"That would be amazing."
Yeah. No, but
So,
and again, that's how adults are supposed to do things. So that
yeah.
I completely understand that.
Now, moving on, talking about Christmas, let's talk about Christmas and flying, Christmas and aviation. Christmas rosters is always a hot topic in the flight deck. Are you working over Christmas?
Yeah.
Um, did you do much when you? I guess when you were obviously active. Were you your experience of kind of Christmas rosters, particularly if you're out of base? Because I know you often move out of base, didn't you, as a TRE?
Yeah, so Christmas roster. I mean, this is obviously the downside of being a pilot.
Mm,
There's just no way around it. Being a pilot is awesome in so many ways. You get to handle these awesome machines. You get to fly to foreign countries. You get to experience stuff that other people never get to experience. But the roster and the rigidity of the rosters and the fact that you cannot do almost anything about them is the problem. And in my case, it's always been an issue because there's really only one holiday per year that I it's really important for me, and that is Christmas because that's when I see my parents, my siblings, my all of my other relatives back home. So for me, it's been like I need Christmas, and not only that, I need time off around Christmas so that I can travel back home and do it. But obviously, as a pilot, you don't have any say in that. It's going to be the rostering department, and I mean, depending on what kind of airline you work in, we work in a company that has a fixed roster, so 5-4 generally, and that means that you can kind of see whether or not you will be working on Christmas even 5 years into the
mm,
future. So sometimes you're lucky and you have your off days around it, and that's fine. Sometimes you see that Christmas is going to be like day two
yeah,
on your roster, and then it's all about trying to get annual leave, which every single person in the company wants at the same time.
yeah.
So it's always been a source of frustration and just a bad feeling, really.
It's always a challenge, and you because, like you said, every single person in the airline wants to be home for Christmas. Typically, no
Mm.
one really wants to be spending it in a hotel on their own, or maybe with a crew, maybe making the best of it. There's some positives there, but everybody wants it off, and it's so hard. It can be so hard to get. I remember when I was based in Dublin. What's that now? Sort of 16 years ago. I was based out there, and because most of my big career, I've been really lucky. I've been based at home. I live, 20 minutes away. I'm pretty close. So, and the airline I fly for, we're lucky. We don't actually work on Christmas Day. There's no flights on Christmas Day, which again is very unusual. So we're very fortunate. We're never actually flying on that day. But when you're out of base, and I was in Dublin, if Christmas happens to be on your day two or day three, I've got to work Christmas Eve and I'm going to have to work Boxing Day, and trying to get from landing on Christmas Eve back to home to have Christmas Day at home to then get back in time for your work on the day after St. Stephen's Day, Boxing Day. It becomes a logistical nightmare and one that can get very, very expensive.
Yeah, and of course, I mean, we do understand obviously that Christmas is a big traveling holiday for everyone, and
Mm.
someone is going to have to fly those aircraft, and that's us, you
Mm.
know. So it's part of the game for
Yeah.
sure. Now I remember that, as you said, if you're based at home, this is not as big of a problem because worst case scenario, yeah, you're working during the day. There's almost no flights at night on Christmas Eve because no one wants to be in the air on Christmas Eve on short haul flights anyway. So there's no point in having scheduled flights. And then you off on Christmas Day, and then it doesn't really matter. Then you can just keep working. So as long as you're home, that's fine. If you're traveling home, that is a real issue. And I remember that a lot of people that didn't have kids used to kind of step up in the industry. You can kind of you see that people like, yeah, put their hands up and I don't have any kids. I don't really mind. I will be flying, which I think everyone that has kids are really grateful for.
Yeah.
So if you are listening to this and you're one of those, believe me, it is not going by unnoticed. Super important. But I also have to say, in all honesty, that I worked for 21 years and I think I missed one or two Christmases.
Mhm.
I have been extremely extraordinarily lucky and had so much support from the company as well
Mm.
to give me annual leave around it.
Mhm.
So I cannot complain.
No.
I definitely cannot do, but I know a lot of other people have not been just as lucky.
Mm. And it is part when you sign up for this job, it is part of it. You can't moan too loudly about it. It is what it is. And I think if you're long haul, particularly, you'll know you'll be flying out on Christmas Eve. You'll be away for 2 days down route somewhere over Christmas, and the next day, and then back. And I've got a few friends that are long haul, and they obviously it's not something you would choose, but they everyone's in the same boat. It seems everyone just makes the best of it. They'll decorate the aircraft and have a nice Christmas with the crew down route. So you just make the best of whatever you've been given at that year.
Yeah, and I do remember that because once you realize that no, the fight is over. right?
Yeah.
I have my last annual leave request has been
Yeah.
denied. Then you do kind of resign to it, and you
Yeah.
do the best out of it. And you can always kind of play around a little bit with the family as well. Say like, oh, we're gonna have little Christmas Eve the weekend
Yeah.
before, and we're gonna do all of this. And it's not exactly the same, but there's a lot of workarounds that you can do. But I don't like being a pilot on Christmas is not that's not what you signed up for. Like
Mm.
it is just a part of what you have to
Yeah.
suffer through, unfortunately.
Yeah, and and it leads into, I think, particularly now, I've noticed being a pilot, it can be, if you're not careful, it can be a bit of a lonely job, which might sound a bit strange at first. But when since COVID, a lot of the airlines have taken away the crew room element of the operation because there was it kind of realized actually we don't need a crew room, particularly in short haul ops where you'd maybe report directly to the aircraft.
Hmm.
So you go through security, you know where your aircraft is, you go there and you meet the crew on the aircraft, you have your brief there, and then you go flying, and you might have a busy day, but there's the social element of it starts to go. And I've noticed that, like in a crew, in the crew room, as you remember, Stansted, for example, in like 5 o'clock in the morning, where it's a big base, you might have 50 aircraft based there. First wave departure, you'll have maybe 20 or 30 crews all in the same room. It's like Piccadilly Circus. Everyone's going through all their flight plans, and you'd be bumping into people. Oh, hey, how you doing? I haven't seen you for ages. How's the family? Oh, yeah, I'm good. And you know, it would take you 20 minutes to walk from one end of the room to the other because you keep stopping and saying hello to everyone.
Yeah.
And it was great, but that's obviously gone. And there's a lot of benefits to that. I'm not going to say it's a bad thing, but you do lose the social element of it potentially. And you spend a day there, particularly maybe if you don't have any too much in common with the person you're flying with, just you, and then you kind of finish the day, you go home. Particularly if you're out of base, you could be on your own, and you repeat that process. It can be surprisingly lonely,
Yeah.
and same with long haul as well. I've spoken to a few people that have found it the same. They're based away from family. They're flat in their base, which is a long way from home. Long haul is an older guy they don't really get on well with. Cabin crew don't really mix. They spend 2 days down route on their own, and then they're back again. And again, it can be lonely, and it has implications that.
Yeah. No, I mean, I've been talking about this when it comes to the life quality of being an
Mm,
airline pilot, that you have to kind of plan for these kind of things.
mm,
And the problem, which I think I pointed out before, is that you really should be a long haul pilot when you're young.
yeah.
Like you should be that's the time when you're in your 20s, that's
Mm,
when you should be a long haul pilot. That's when you should be going out, flying to Miami, having a 48-hour stopover together with a cabin crew the same age as you. You're single, you're out, making the best out of it. That I don't think that you'll be very lonely then. But as you go through your kind of life cycle, eventually you will become, you get up into your 30s and you've met the your partner, and you maybe have kids, and now the only thing you want is to be with them, right? And even if you're in an awesome place in the Caribbean or whatever it might be, the only thing you're thinking about is that I would love to have shared this with them.
yeah.
This is why this I can't believe how nice this hotel is. Wait until I can tell my wife about it or whatever. And of course, what happens then is that exactly what you're saying. Instead of going out and having fun with your crew or whatever, you stay in your hotel room and you are, on your FaceTime with your wife when the time allows it, because maybe they're sleeping when you're up. So you're absolutely right that if you're not careful and you're not plan things right, you can get into a position where it looks like the most awesome lifestyle in the world. And if you're following some Instagram pilots, you probably think that it is. But behind there is something that can be dark unless you're aware of it.
Mm,
And that kind of brings us on to the next part of this story or this podcast that we wanted to take up.
yeah. We saw that there was a Reuters article, wasn't there? And the headline was pretty in your face, and it was, "If you're not lying, you're not flying."
Yeah.
And that was a bit of an attention grabber. And the story behind that is all around mental health and the stigma associated with pilot mental health. And the idea being that if you're not lying about your mental health, i.e., you're saying you're fine when you're not, then you're not flying.
Yeah.
There's no way you're going to fly. So it'd be an interesting one. It's a huge topic, isn't it? But it's an interesting one to get your thoughts on that, Peter.
So this is one of the subjects that is closest to my heart,
Mm,
right? Because this is the problem that I deal with explaining how accidents and incidents have happened on a daily basis. And almost every time that I cover an accident or whatever, I finish off the video with saying, and now the aviation industry has learned this lesson and we've become safer because of it. So this and this and this we're doing better. But when it comes to mental health, this is not happening, right? There's some changes that have come in after these horrific accidents like the German Wings 9525 accident that happened more than a decade ago now. But it just has not changed to its core. And there are a lot of reasons for that, which is something that I am trying to highlight with every single chance that I get. And that is that aviation fundamentally is about trust. Okay. You have to, when you don't know anything about aviation, you're still going to take you and your family and you're going to put yourself inside of a metal tube that will go at 800 kilometers per hour at 40,000 feet. The only way that you would do that is that you absolutely trust the men and women that are in charge of that aircraft. Right. Now, that then means that you assume that whoever is in charge of it, whoever's sitting up there in the front, is absolutely fine. In fact, there cannot be anything wrong with them. They are superhuman, right? And that stereotype has been strengthened through movies and through the way that it was, to become a pilot in the 70s, you basically had to be potentially an astronaut to do so.
Mm.
But what people forget when we're talking about these things is that pilots are not superhuman in any way, shape, or form. We are exactly like everyone else. And between 5-6% of the population will face some type of, for example, depression during their lifetime, right? And that raises up to about 10 to 12 or even 13% if you look at all mental issues globally, everything that exists. So from that, you can deduce that 6% of the pilot population is also suffering from some kind of depression at some point during their lifetime. But since the traveling public is assuming that everyone is fine, there is a stigma, a huge stigma. And we like the way that this is showing itself in the industry is that because of accidents like German wings, for example, and other things that have happened before, there's a little bit of a chasing going on from the aviation authorities' point of view, where they want to make sure that the pilots do not have these problems, or at least that they are very well controlled if they do happen. So it's becoming or has been very hard for people that go out and publicly say, actually, I do have a problem. I need to stop flying now and get better. They have traditionally had a hard time to get themselves back into the flight deck again.
Yeah.
Okay. And of course, what happens then is that if you know in the back of your mind that if I don't feel very well, like there's something wrong with me, I definitely need some time off here. But if I do, maybe I will lose this lifestyle that I have, this dream job that I have, or maybe I will lose maybe my colleagues will look down on me, or the airline will keep track of this on me. Like there's a lot of these things going on in the back of people's minds, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. And it doesn't the strange thing with mental health, and it's not this is mental health as a whole, is if we have something wrong with us physically, if we have a broken leg or we have whatever it might be, some lung infection, we go out, we get treated for it. There's a path to recovery, and we get back. But as soon as it becomes mental health, people are very reluctant to take the treatment.
Mm,
I've had friends and family members that have suffered through like post traumatic stress and some anxiety, and through the experiences that they've had, and they were very reluctant to go and get the treatment that they wanted because of that stigma.
mm,
To the point that we had to really highlight the fact that it's no different than a physical ailment as such. You've got to look at it the same way. But the difference with a physical ailment is there's often a road to recovery, isn't there? There's often you have this, you do that, and then you're back, you're healed and you're back to being fit again and you can fly. With mental health, it becomes a very blurry subject with a potentially no clear outcome. Every person is different, aren't they? And it doesn't, and sometimes it doesn't make sense. I know somebody close to me who worked their whole career to get into the airline world, and they got into the airline world and got the job of their dreams. And then they started to develop this OCD kind of tendencies where, and they told me that they were doing like a walk around, and the walk around would take them like 15 minutes, 20 minutes out of a 25-minute turnaround, because if they see something, walk to the next bit, go, oh man, I need to check that more, and they go back and have a look at it, to the point that it was really getting them down. And captains started to notice it, and and it kind of built into this depression. And it makes no sense, because on paper you've achieved everything that you'd worked out to achieve, but now you're feeling the worst you've ever felt. So people can look at you and go, how on earth can that person have depression? They're living the dream. They've got, wife, kids, their airline job, they're young. And you think, how can that make sense? And it doesn't make any sense.
No.
And that's the problem with mental health. It doesn't make any sense at all. It's a wiring problem in your brain that needs to be fixed.
Yeah, it's something. I mean, it's chemical
Yeah.
often, which means that there's nothing you can do about it. Sometimes you need actual, well, first of all, treatment from
Mm,
someone who's a professional, but also sometimes medication,
mm,
which leads into another problem, and that is a lot of the medication for psychiatric illnesses out there are blacklisted for
yeah.
pilots. So once you start taking them, you're definitely grounded, and not
Mm,
only that, you'll be grounded for a significant period after you stop taking them as
mm,
well. And that's for good reasons, because the brain chemistry can take some time to readjust to both taking these drugs, making sure that they work, but also when you're well and you stop weaning off them, the brain chemistry goes back again. So you are going to have to wait to make sure that everything is fine before you go. So that's perfectly okay. And I think all of pilots would definitely be okay with that if they thought that there was an honest way that the industry and the airlines wanted them back,
yeah.
right? But I think that the feeling right now, be it right or wrong, is that they feel instead that they now have become a threat, and they feel that they're being held back. Sometimes I've heard horror stories of people having to wait years to get their reevaluation from an aeromedical center. That was actually mentioned in this Reuters article, which we are going to link to, by the way.
Yeah.
You should all read it to just see how big the problem is. But there's just a big feeling, I think, among pilots, that if they do go down the route of actually being honest and saying, I need to step down for a while, be it just for a month or for a couple of weeks or whatever, that first of all, they will lose a lot of income when
Mm,
they do. Second of all, they might lose their medical certificate. And third, it's going to be problematic to get it back because of what you said, because it's not so easy. You can't take an x-ray
no.
and see that it's now fixed. It has to be evaluated properly. So this is it's a huge problem. And of course, I understand the traveling public out there, right? Again, they are the ones that are trusting their lives with the people that are flying. So you can understand the backbone reaction of like, no, I don't want anyone who is potentially feel not feeling well flying my aircraft. Make sure that doesn't happen. But when you say that, then you have to think, okay, so how is that going to be achieved? How are you going to stop that person from flying? Well, obviously, people will say, well, more checks, more tests, make sure that they are well. But the problem with that is that now you're driving these problems underground.
Yeah, exactly.
You're now taking this root issue that exists and will always exist no matter how little you want it, and you're telling the smart people, because we tend to be quite smart people sitting up in the front, that you are going to be tested to make sure that you don't have any of this, because we don't want you flying. And that is going to make people much more skilled in hiding it. And I have I have so terrible experience of a previous friend of mine who was just like you said, the most athletic, the most nice, the most achieved person that I one of the most like, accomplished persons I knew, basically, that ended up succumbing to suicide. No one saw it.
Mm,
No one saw it coming. It turns out that this person was a master of hiding the issues, right? And
wow.
of course, if you see that, if you then take that into its tangent, you understand that if someone does not want to deal with this, well, then they will probably be able to hide it, and then the root cause that would be to actually fix the problem
Mm,
will escape us.
yes. And it can compound the problem as well, because one of the big parts of getting better often with mental health is talking about it. is feeling that you're not. It's not just you. It's not just that, there's not. Sometimes, and I know with mental health, having family members that have suffered pretty badly with it, it can feel like that you're in this black hole with no way out. And it's that no way out that makes it feel so bad. But when you start talking about it and you start realizing that you're not alone, that this is something that happens to other people and other people have gotten better, combined with the right medication, suddenly there's a clear path away. But it's got to be spoken about, that initial step. Otherwise, you will be in that black hole.
Yeah, I think there are a couple of things that needs to be done. Right. First of all, I think all pilots, basically, it's not only pilots. This is in every single work group out there.
Yeah.
But there needs to be more lights shown on the issue of mental health. But
Yeah.
we need to be informed and educated about it from an early age, right? Because I think at the moment, as always, when you don't know something, when you're ignorant about something, you're going to take the wrong decisions all the time. But if you do know that, okay, these are the signs, this is why it happens because of an imbalance of chemicals in your brain. You see that these signs are opening up, or you start to see these signs in a loved one. These are the ways to fix it. So that's step number one, to make sure that everyone out there understands what the signs are and understands what's behind it, because that will kill the stigma to a certain extent in itself. But then, in specifically in aviation, and I did a LinkedIn post about this because I got so frustrated when I read this Reuters article. I basically outlined that we need to do three things. There's three things that needs to be there, and that is any pilot who feel that they are not, they should be stepping away from flying should immediately be able to take time off and get well from it, get it treated, go to a psychiatrist, get it sorted, and make sure that there is a solid and clear way back from it,
Yeah.
back to the cockpit. All right, so that's number one. That if this is a mild thing, a mild depression, for example, they can take time off, and there's a very clear way to follow to get
Yeah.
back into the cockpit. Number two, they cannot lose significant income when they do so. So there needs to be a safety net underneath them that basically says that if this happens to you, it's fine. Just like with any other illness or whatever, you just make sure that you get better. That's the priority. And number three, this is where we get to, it becomes a little bit harder. And that is, if you do get time off and you do go to a psychiatrist, and it turns out that this is an illness that it's in the unacceptable range, right? This illness that you have contracted is not compatible with flying anymore, which is a possibility. Well, in that case, there has to be a loss of license insurance that covers their livelihood for, I would say, for at least 5 years, so that this person can both get better and then be retrained into a different occupation if that's needed. Or, and this is something that actually the nuclear industry already does, that person needs to be able to get a job within the same organization with a similar salary structure that is not safety critical. Right? That's what they do already. It sounds like a lot, but that's exactly what they do in other safety critical areas, because they know that without these three steps, people will be hiding it. It
Mm.
will it will just be there and continue to make the harm that it does.
And I think one of the problems, the airline, looking at it from an airline's perspective, is we absolutely need more openness and transparency when it comes to being able to declare yourself mentally fit or unfit to operate. And what I'm sure the airlines are worried about is people then taking advantage of that. Because whenever something comes in like this, you will always have some people that will take advantage of this. And they've got something they need to go and attend, or they need a week off, or whatever it is. They're feeling a bit tired. Oh, I'm having a mental health day, week, whatever, and they'll be on full pay, and the airlines start to lose productivity if this starts to escalate. So there needs to be a way as well of preventing that from happening.
Yeah, but I hear you, right? But I think that in comparison to how big this problem actually is,
Mhm.
I think it's a vanishingly small percentage that would do that. That would take
Mm,
like a mental health day, because
mm,
the stigma is always going to be there.
true.
So the stigma in itself, at the moment and probably forever, will stop people from doing that.
Yeah.
And if there are a few bad apples out there that would take advantage of it, then just so be it. That will be then the cost of making sure that we're fixing a much larger background problem.
Yeah.
It's like there is, yeah. I don't. It's not a quick fix to this. because obviously the airlines are also going to be worried about, well, what if something happens to this pilot in the future? What if something happens and the press
Mm.
sees that this pilot has been off because of mental health issues? There's always going to be that stigma hanging
Mm.
around, and the way that the press kind of does everything to blow up when an accident happens, for example, basically assures that that's going to happen,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It didn't take many seconds or hours before they had found out that the first officer in the German wings accident had issues, mental issues,
Mm.
right? So this is not an easy fix. I'm not pretending that it is, but it is something that we have to shine a light on. And before this gets too dark, maybe we should talk about the things that have actually
Yeah.
gotten better the last couple of decades, because there are a few things that have gotten better.
Yeah, there certainly have. There've been some very, very certainly post-COVID, I've noticed, actions taken by airlines, and one of them is the peer support program.
Yeah.
And I know from the airline I operate has a very, very good one. I think it's something we all thought initially was going to be purely a just for show, tick box, we have it, it's there, but it's actually pretty rubbish. It's not. It's actually very, very, very good. And the process for that is if there's any problem that any pilot is having, they can raise awareness of this, whether it's a mental health issue, a family issue, anything that's going on that's impacting their ability to operate safely and professionally, is they can voluntarily implement this peer support program. There's a couple of ways they can do it. It's completely confidential. As soon as they get into this peer support program, they're taken away from the visibility that is gone within an airline. As so, for example, you, Peta, as say a base captain or a base TRE, if I was working under you and I went into this peer support program, I would disappear from your screens. You wouldn't be able to find me. There's no record of what I'm being treated for, what's going on. They're also on full pay. You'd lose your flight pay because you're not flying, but your basic salary is there. And then you have access to a lot of support, whether that's through your peers, i.e., the name, but there's also avenues to go down to other specialist areas as well. And I've spoken to people that have used this within my airline, and they've only had very, very positive things to say. And that to me is an incredible step in the right direction.
Yeah, and that should be. I mean, I love hearing that, and
Mhm.
I'm so happy to hear that your airline is using this peer support program. And I've had a lot of similar reports coming from international peer support programs. There are. I'm going to link in the description here on YouTube. We're going to link to a few of them. So obviously, if you are feeling that you're suffering from mental health issues or whatever, and you need support, you should be able to find them, because these are available for all different areas, not only for aviation, but for anyone really. So these peer support programs and the fantastic people who are working inside of them should get all of our support, right? Because they're doing an outstanding work. And if you are one of them, I do thank you for it. So this has become, like you said, it was something that I didn't, when I first heard about it, I thought it was, well, that's a band-aid on on something very, very serious. But actually it's actually the step in the right direction, because as you say, it's taking out a lot of those steps that I asked for. It's making sure that there's no pressure from the company. It's making it anonymous. It's giving access to help. So it is actually really, really good. It doesn't solve the full problem,
No.
but it is a very good band-aid, as it
It's
should
yeah,
sound.
it is a very, very good band-aid, and it's very encouraging to hear people that are there to take advantage of it. And it's not only something that a pilot can volunteer themselves into. I think us as TREs or instructors, we're seeing the pilot workforce come into us for their recurrent training all of the time, and we have a duty of care as well. There's been a very, very few occasions, but there has been occasions where I've seen a pilot, and you just know something's not right. You can tell the way that they're interacting with you, because normally when people come for their simulator assessments every 6 months, they're on their A game, they're ready for it, they're pumped up. They don't particularly want to, they're not looking forward to it, but they're there to shine and do the best they can. And very occasionally you'll see someone that it just doesn't add up. Something's not right. And then at the end of the debrief, I've sent the other person away and had a bit of a, just a kind of a human being to human being chat with them.
Hmm.
Yeah, is everything okay? You haven't seemed quite right. And by asking the right questions and letting them know they're not being judged, I've had a couple of people open up to me, and really suddenly you realize there's a lot going on behind the scenes. Huge amount. Bless them. They've got like weights on their shoulders you couldn't imagine, and you can then recommend the peer support program. I can speak to the peer support program, and this one particular person was taken into it, and it was incredible. It really transformed and helped them and took that weight off their shoulders. So I think as instructors, even as colleagues, you're in a flight deck with someone. You can raise awareness of this.
Oh, absolutely. And you raise a hugely important point there because it's not always, and I've never suffered from like deep depression
Mm,
myself, but apparently it's not always obvious for the person who's about to enter into it that they
mm,
are,
mm,
right? And it's often the people around them. So colleagues, instructors, spouses, siblings that notices it. But the
mm.
problem can be that they might not get any positive feedback from it. They can raise it and they're just going to get shit back,
Yeah, yeah.
essentially. So this is where again where information comes in and education comes in, because it's very easy to then just turn away and like, oh, I'm not going to get into that. When in fact that's really when you should turn and like, "Okay, dude, are you good?" Or raise, like you said, like kind of raise a flag like this, and this person might need a little bit of support. And I think this goes for anyone who's out there who's listening to this. Like, you might have someone around you who's not acting the way that you're used to it. Have another look to see whether or not maybe there is something there that you can support and help with, and at least ask the question.
Yeah, and don't be put off if the initial answer is either is no, because the first thing, as soon as anyone says, "Oh, how are you?" "Oh, I'm fine," isn't
Yeah,
it? Even when you're not, even having a crap day, whatever. It's your first, so you've got to dig a little bit, and you've got to think, "How am I going to answer this or ask these questions?" And not just take the initial answer as, "Oh yeah, they're fine. Walk away. I've done my bit." If you genuinely care, you've got to dig a little bit deeper, persevere a little bit, and try and get to the root cause of what's causing this as best as you can.
yeah. No, absolutely. And also, just to continue on what we were talking about before of things that are getting better, the aviation authorities out there seem to understand this problem, and they are working on it, but in the typically very slow and kind of uneven-handed way that they tend to do things. So you can see this, for example, by the way that they didn't go in and implement more draconian measures of checking for people with mental illnesses after the German wings crash. They didn't do that. They knew what kind of Pandora's box they would open if they did that. So instead, they have been pushing for these peer support programs, which was part of the accident report, actually, of the findings after the accident. That's one thing. They've also, in the States especially, started looking into, okay, which types of medical pills, of medicines, can we actually
Mhm.
allow pilots to use while they're operating?
Mhm.
Because it turns out that, not all of them weighs the same. So they're looking into ways where they know that these people might need a little bit of this. It's actually conducive to flying. It doesn't have any negative safety effects. So yeah, we are going to allow this. So you can see that there is work going on in the background. It's just not, I don't feel that they're doing it from the right direction. The right direction should be just to give people that feel. I think that it should be mandatory for any airline out there that hires a pilot to have a loss of license insurance, to say that if this happens to you, 5 years of guaranteed pay, that's it. It has to be obviously in that case activated by a psychiatrist or something. I don't know exactly how this is going to work, but it's
Mhm.
just going to be mandatory so that
Mhm.
people can have that kind of feeling of safety, that they're not going to fall.
Yeah.
The system is not going to crash over them in
No.
case this happens.
And it's a really important part of the recovery as well, because that's another issue with the mental health. That black hole is feeling that you want to say something, but you know you can't, because if you do, your whole world is going to collapse around you, because you lose your job, you lose your income, you lose that ability to fly again that you've worked so hard for. So if you can take that away and give something solid for them to hold on to while they're on the recovery is going to be all the more successful and rapid. It's that, I think with depression and mental health, it's taking away that feeling of hopelessness, because that's often at the root cause of a lot of it. It's this hopelessness, and you give people hope, and you take away the fear of various consequences. Things get better quickly.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But
So
it does put the pressure on AMEs, I think. I know I was chatting to an aero medical examiner, who are the people responsible for giving us our medicals every year or every 6 months. And they'll be the one that ultimately that has to sign us fit, because they're the one that's putting their signature on the line saying this person, after being treated now for mental health issues, is now fit to operate as a captain of an aircraft. if something goes wrong down the line, the first thing they're going to be looking at is that AME potentially.
Yeah. No, like I said, there's no
Right.
easy answer to this. All right. But I do know 100% for sure that we are not there yet.
No.
That there are definitely things that can still be done, and
Mm.
I'm going to continue to shine a flashlight on this using all of my platforms to make sure that this keeps getting better. So again, if you are listening to this out
Yeah.
there, you have a story to tell, or you feel that you need support or whatever, there's going to be links to it. You can send emails directly here as well to captains@mentorpilot.com is
Mm.
the email address. I'm not sure I'll be able to help in any way. I'm not a professional, but at least it can be an outlet.
Yep,
So
sharing's caring. And also, if you've got any suggestions or ideas how the industry can move forward, let us know. It'd be great to see, and we can look at these in the upcoming episodes as well.
yeah, no, I have my ideas. Actually, this LinkedIn post that I did there was one particularly angry person who came. Well, angry, very, not, I wouldn't say angry, upset that
Hmm.
agreed with me as seeing this as a problem, and this person basically said, well, there's just one way to do this, and that's to tell the insurance underwriters of the aircraft that this problem exists, and make them tell the airlines what they need them to do, because those are the ones that will put the financial incentives there to have it sorted. Which, to a certain extent, I kind of agree, because I know how the aviation industry works. It's all about the bottom line at the end of the day, and if you can get away with something that's a little bit cheaper and not having to deal with the problem, that's probably how you're going to do it. The airlines are going to look at the authorities. The authorities will put their rules in, and as long as the rules are followed, the airlines are happy, right? But if in a situation like this, if an insurance underwriter, the ones that are actually insuring the aircraft, comes out and say, "Well, we are only going to insure airlines who provide loss of license insurances for this to all of their pilots," all of a sudden, there's not going to be a question anymore. It's just going to happen.
Done.
It's done.
It's done. And I think to finish this off, the fact that we're speaking about this, the fact that it's in Reuters and it's going into international news, this is only a good thing. The more it's spoken about, the more it's out in the open, the better it's going to be. So all of this is a positive step in the right direction.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Don't. The more people know about it, like I said, information sharing, education on it, the better it is.
Mm.
And having said that, I think that we actually have a few questions on this, because,
Hmm.
like it was since it came out in Reuters, a lot of people have seen it. But I know that we've gotten a few questions. I'm not sure about if it's exactly about this, but let's see. Spiros has been sending in the questions as always. And let's see. Okay, we can take one that's a little bit lighter first. Dear Peter and Ben, as parents, how do you deal with family with being away a lot? When I become a pilot one day, I would love to have a family. Thank you, and love the podcast from Noam.
A good question. It's an easy answer for me. I can go first. I'm with an airline, fly for an airline where we have, as Petter said, what we call a stable roster, which is quite unusual in the aviation world. We do 5 days on of working, and we do 5 days off. Sorry, 4 days off. But on the 5 days, we don't night stop. So I'm effectively in my own bed every night. I generally get to see the family every day, and it's a big reason why a lot of people fly for the airline that I fly for,
Yeah,
because of the lifestyle. So I'm very fortunate in that way, and I've not really experienced life without that.
yeah, it's as close to a 9 to 5 job as you get in the industry,
Yeah.
basically. Absolutely. Now, I have been talking about this. We kind of briefly mentioned it already in this podcast, but you have to be smart about this. So if you're going into the aviation industry, sometimes you have to take decisions that are a little bit counterintuitive. This means that even if when you are in your 20s, like I said, if you can get a long haul job, great, do it. You find your spouse that way, or at least you're going to have fun for a few years. But in most cases, most people, they get their kind of maybe a commuter job or a short medium haul job as their first job, and then in the back of their minds they're thinking, well, I'm going to build up my hours here, and then I'm going to apply for a long haul job. And the problem is that the long haul carriers tend to want around 3,000 hours or something, 1,500 at least, but up to 3,000 hours. It will take you 4 years to get at least. And when you've been working for 4 years, so now you're 25, 26, and now you've met your girlfriend, and now you get your kids, right? All of a sudden, when you have the requirement to get that long haul job, you might not want it anymore, right? So, well, and the problem is that in your head, you might still think, oh, finally, no, I'm going to fly that shiny 777 and I'm going to go to the Maldives and I'm going to do all of these cool things. Now is where you're going to have to use your head because now is where you're going to have to think, well, when I weigh things on mile scale at home, how much is money, flying big jets, status worth, and how much is life quality together with the people I love worth? If you're a smart person, you'll realize that there's no substitute for life quality with your loved ones because life is what happens as you do your day to day job. That means that maybe it's smarter to stay with your current employer, flying short, medium haul, coming home every night, just like you and I did, and do that while your kids are small and they're growing up, and you get maximum time together with them. And then maybe when when they're 18 years old or 20, they go to the university, whatever, and your wife really are tired of seeing you every day. Maybe then is the time then to go
Yeah,
long haul.
yeah.
So these kind of things you're gonna have to think about when you get into this industry.
Mm.
And it's not always obvious which one is the correct one. But one thing that I can assure you is that chasing gold will not make you happy.
Wise words, Captain Hornfelt.
Thank you. You're welcome. Cool. Right. So let's see. This is for you, Ben. Has Ben flown to the small little airport called Nyköping in Sweden? What does he dislike about it? If I'm not wrong, it was Petter's home base when he met his wife. And that's from Jesper.
I think I have. I mean, we don't go there anymore. Have you? Because you were a Scavster, weren't you?
Yeah, that is Nyköping.
That's the same one, is it?
Yeah,
Because isn't there another one just southeast that sounds very similar to that, or just
yeah,
south?
that's Norrköping, which is not the same.
There you go. See, I'm English. Unless it's unless it stands still, I don't get it. So, yeah, Scavster flown in there many times. Not as many as you, no doubt. It's a great place to go in the winter because you guys up there are so good at doing that job. I always joke we go up to Scavster and it'll be -5, 10 degrees, snow, and you're in and out super efficiently. If that was in the UK, it'd be closed for a month. But yeah, I like it. I think it's great, super efficient.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. Yes, I was based there. I was based there for 8 years,
Mm,
and that is where I met my Spanish wife. Interestingly enough,
mm,
so I have only fond memories of Nyköping. I have a lot of friends there still. Obviously, my airline doesn't fly there anymore. They moved up to Stockholm Arlanda, which is the main airport in Stockholm. But it's flying to secondary airports is actually quite lovely because
yeah,
it's so much simpler and so much quicker.
yeah,
So I no I had a great time there.
yeah. So just for my clarity, Peter, what's the difference in the names? So the
Nyköping is with
yeah,
Yankee.
yeah.
Norrköping is Oscar Romeo
There we
Romeo,
go.
so
I got
November
it.
Oscar Romeo Romeo. So that's basically New Köping
Okay.
and Northern Köping, which funnily enough is south of
South,
New
yeah.
Köping.
Okay, yes.
but but yeah, so that's the they sound very similar.
Yeah, get it.
But no, I don't think that we flew to Norrköping. It was more like an alternate, I think.
I think so. Yeah,
But there's a couple of other Köpings around,
yeah.
including a town that's actually just called Köping.
Okay,
Yeah,
there you go.
so we like
Every
that.
day's a school day.
Cool. Right. So okay. So this is a longer one. Hi. I would prefer to stay anonymous. I want to ask if you could not fly anymore because of, let's say, losing your medical. What kind of job within aviation would you aim for to stay within the industry, other than YouTube, of course? I myself failed medical because of being just outside the requirements for color deficiency, so ATC is not an option either. I am looking into flight dispatch, but it is a very thin job market, and in Europe, no one really knows what they want of requirements. Although apparently EASA is discussing kind of certification for flight dispatchers, FOs, now. Just hoping they're not also going to require medical class 1 or 3 as well. So what would you do if you lost your medical today and you didn't have airline pilot performance?
Jeez, it's a tough one. I mean, the advantage that we have is that we're instructors, so we have our instructor ticket, so we could continue working in sim as an instructor, as a synthetic flight examiner or a synthetic flight instructor, doing very much what we do, just without the flying part of it. So that would for me personally, that would be my where I would be going, just spending my days instructing in the
Okay,
sim.
let's say you're not going to get anything to do with what you're doing now.
Yeah, it's a tough one, and I don't know if the medical would restrict. I mean, ATC is always something that I've toyed with. The challenge of being an air traffic controller, it must be an incredibly tough but also rewarding job. When you hear them working, particularly in busy airspace like London at rush hour, it's impressive, super impressive. And I love the idea of pushing your boundaries to do that. So I've always kind of been attracted to that, but whether that medical condition would affect that, I don't know. But I'd certainly be looking in that direction.
Yeah.
How about you?
No, I think I would leave aviation if I couldn't fly.
Mm,
Because I think that if flying is what you love doing and what you want to do, I don't think that I would at least would be happy doing something that is flying adjacent. I think it
yeah.
just would hurt.
Mm, mm,
So obviously I have stepped away from flying for 3 years now, but that's been on my own accord.
yeah.
And I just picked up my type rating again. So I'm not leaving it behind me, and I'd loved every second of being in the sim again. So I think that if I were to be, if I'd lost my medical, I think, and I didn't have this fantastic YouTube kind of machine that's running now, I would probably go into business somehow. Like I would probably get myself an MBA, and I would start doing something within entrepreneurship. I would start something up, create a company, because so far the most, except for flying and except for doing like a challenging crosswind landing, starting up and driving a company has been one of the most interesting and fulfilling things that I have done in my life. So I'm pretty sure that I would go down that way and try to excel within that area instead.
Mm. Cool.
Yeah, but it's a great question,
Mm.
and I think with that we are approaching an hour. So I know this has been a little bit of a bummer for being a Christmas episode, but I thought it was a super super important episode to have and talk to have. I hope that it has helped someone out there who might have been thinking in these ways, and I hope that that the industry that we work within will continue to improve within this area, and I think it will.
I hope so. I think it can only improve. I think we're going forward now. But yeah, let us know in the comments below. Let email in if you've got any thoughts on the topics that we've discussed today. Please let us know. It's always fascinating to read your replies. But on that note, Peta, have a good week,
Yeah,
and we'll
you
see you
too.
next time.
Have an absolutely fantastic week, even, and we'll see you next week.
Take care, everyone. Cheers.
Cheers.